All right, so today let's go ahead and talk about some controversial Facebook ad strategies. So we're going to talk about, do $5 a day ads work or $10 a day or more? We're going to talk about duplicating, and we're even going to talk about where you should actually target. So these are the most controversial Facebook ad strategies out right now. All right, y'all, what's going on? I'm Braden, Wuerch, and I'm here to provide insane value to you guys to help you grow personally and financially as well. All right, guys, so today I want to go ahead and I want to cover some of the most common questions I get regarding Facebook ads. And these are definitely some of the most controversial strategies out there. They're somewhat more micro details, and these actually have to do with the different strategies out there. Some people are very successful doing some things and others are very successful doing others. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give you my opinions and what I do on these three topics. So first off, on the budget, do $5 a day ads even work anymore? We're gonna talk about duplicating versus editing, and then we're gonna talk about targeting specific countries or targeting worldwide. But with all this, I wanna preface this with different strategies work, and different strategies work for different business models, different strategies work for different niches, different strategies work for different products, and different strategies work for different people. I've got my mentors that they taught me years ago, and I do some things a little bit different than they do. I've got my students that I teach, and I've got several successful students that they've taken their own twists, and they do their own thing. There's several different ways to skin a cat when it comes to Facebook ads. There's several different strategies that work. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. The whole reason I want to go ahead and kind of give you my opinion on these three strategies is because the way I go about doing things is quite a bit different than how a lot of people go about tackling Facebook ads, at least with e-commerce. So it'll at least give you another thing to try if you haven't tried it yet. If you guys are still not successful, or if you're trying to just find a kind of a new technique, you might find that today. But before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a big favor and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below, on all three things that we're going to talk about today. What do you prefer doing? I'd love to go ahead and connect with you guys. So first off, let's talk about the daily budget. Can you go ahead and run $5 a day ads anymore? Do you need a bigger budget? So back in the day when there was less competition on Facebook, everything like that, a lot of people, even most people, would run their ads at $5 a day. Now, I never even started running with $5 a day. When I got into the game years ago, I even then started with $10 a day. That's what I learned from my mentors. I tested it, split tested it several times. And I preferred running it at $10 a day or more. Typically though, I always run my ads, test my ads with $10 a day. What happens is, and there's some people that do like doing $5 a day ads. What I have found to be the case is when you're testing a region, and it's a pretty big region, say like the United States, you want to go ahead and spread your budget throughout the 24-hour period, because you're gonna have sales happen in different time periods. You're wanting to go, if you look on your sales, essentially, if you've been running, consistent sales for a while, you should see that in different regions, sales spike in different times. You want to spread your budget throughout that 24-hour period to essentially test every hour of the day for that specific region. If you don't do that, you could have missed that you've got a good ad or a good product for that region. It just didn't have the right time period. So that's why I prefer starting with at least $10 a day. Rarely do I start at higher than that. I love the $10 a day method, and that's what I like to do. Now, with that being said, there are instances in which I will use $5 a day ads. A lot of times when I'm going hard, scaling horizontally with lookalike audiences, different things like that, I might test with $5 a day ads. Especially when I've already got the sales with that ad, the sales with that product, and I'm just trying to scale it horizontally. A lot of times I will start with $5 a day with that. But I don't typically like to test with $5 a day. With that being said, I do know of a couple people that do, but I would say the majority prefer $10 a day or even more. I think anything past $20 a day to go ahead and establish that you've got a good ad is overkill. You don't need that. And I would recommend against that to go ahead and essentially save your budget. So now let's go ahead and talk about worldwide versus targeting region. Now I get asked this question all the time, and it seems like the popular thing to do right now is to test worldwide. And you might exclude countries like China, you might exclude countries like India, Indonesia, some of the more kind of fraud prone regions, but a lot of people are testing worldwide. I typically never do this. There's one strategy in which I will do that, and I've covered that before, and it's another lookalike audience strategy that's more of an advanced strategy. But anytime testing ads and testing products, I never test worldwide. If you guys have been following me for a while now, you know that I like to test my ads and my products with specific regions, and I'll set that up between anywhere from 2 to 4 ad sets. So this means I might have one ad set for United States, I might have one ad set for UK, and I might have one ad set for Germany and Netherlands. Now the countries that I decide to test with, they change throughout the seasons. Different seasons, different countries work better, and it even changes for the niches and products. But I like getting that data for that very specific country, and that way then when I decide to scale both vertically and horizontally over time, I've got a lot of room to do that because I've got the specific countries. And then you guys know my strategy. I like to spread literally around the globe. I don't like to be restricted to the big 5 English-speaking countries like a lot of people do. The whole thing I love about e-commerce is that we have the 7 billion people worldwide at our disposal. And frankly, when you're doing that, you're not a direct competitor with Amazon anymore. So I'm spreading literally around the globe, and I don't want to start with just targeting worldwide. I like to be very focused on where I target, and by choosing regions like United States for one ad set, UK for one ad set, Germany and Netherlands for another ad set, or even South Africa or another one, what you're doing is you're choosing countries of very similar demographics, but each one of them has different demographics. So you're able to kind of get a good idea on where in the world it's going to sell. If you've got a product that sells well in the United States but doesn't sell well in Germany, Netherlands, or even the UK, then you might have a product that sells really well in the United States and Canada, and maybe even Australia, but it's not going to sell well in Europe. Vice versa. If you've got something that sells really well in Germany and Netherlands, but not in the United States, then you might have something that does really well in Europe. And if you've got a product that sells well in everything, then that's one that you typically can really, really scale around the globe. So just keep that in mind, and that's what I like to do. I know some people absolutely love the worldwide targeting method. I never, ever, ever test a product with the worldwide method, and that's just personal preference. So now let's go ahead and talk about duplicating versus editing, and this is probably the most popular controversial strategy out there, and the one of the most common questions I get is, I have no clue how to duplicate my ad. Do I go into a higher budget? Do I use the same budget? Guys, I rarely ever duplicate an ad. The only times I duplicate is, again, with a lookalike audience strategy. If you can't tell, when it gets to lookalike audiences, there's a lot of different things you can do, and you've got a lot of flexibility. And you want to be split testing a lot when it comes to that. But when it comes to testing products, you need to have somewhat of a strict strategy that you follow, because if you're changing all over the board, you're going to be wasting a lot of your budget because you're not following a method. You need to follow a method, whatever that is that you guys decide. You need to follow a method and do that across the board for testing. So now when it comes to duplicating versus editing, one thing my mentors taught me, and then my years of experience using Facebook ads, I edit the budget. I don't duplicate. The thing is, if you know how to scale vertically properly and safely, and I've talked about this in other videos, most people just don't know how to scale vertically right. If you know how to do that, and you know how the Facebook ad system works, and this goes into actually reading about the Facebook ad system from Facebook themselves and actually doing your research on this, and this is what most people don't do. Most people just try to throw money out there and see what works. If you actually really understand how Facebook ads work and the whole advertising system, you'll see that it was meant to be edited. You know, Facebook did not put the duplicating feature in place to go ahead and bid against your already currently running ad set. That's not why it was put in place. When you edit the ad and you edit the budget of the ad, that's how Facebook meant for you to go ahead and scale vertically and raise the budget. And if you know how to do it properly, and you do need to know how to do it properly, because you can easily screw up that ad set. And that's why so many people do like the duplicating method, because they don't know how to scale up vertically. But then a lot of times what happens with the duplicated one, you're bidding against yourself, you'll have instability. Many times you're risking it not even working as well. Whereas if you know how to raise the budget effectively, you know how the optimizing system works, you know how to scale up vertically, properly, and patiently, you'll have stability for a long time. You can get to really high budgets off just a regular automatic bid ad set. But with that being said, even though I like editing more, and we're talking about vertical scaling here, you know that my absolute biggest thing I love about Facebook ads is the horizontal scaling. You know, that is my biggest focus. You know, so many people, and I would say the majority of people in e-commerce, they try so hard on vertical scaling and put such an emphasis on vertical scaling and really getting their ad budgets high, when the whole power and the way you get to 6 figures per month fast, and the way you get to 6 figures per month while holding a high profit margin. You know, I see a lot of these people that they might be doing 6 figures per month, or 5 figures per month, and their profit margin sucks. The way you hold a high profit margin is that horizontal scaling. When you've gone ahead and you've got 50 to 200 ad sets running for one product, but they're all optimized. You're tracking the cost per conversion, and you're spread around the globe. You're spread out with tons and tons of lookalike audiences, and there's a lot of strategies that go into both of that. When you've done that and you've really focused on that horizontal scaling, and then at the same time you still have that focus on vertical scaling as well, that's how you go ahead and you literally can go from $1,000 a month to thousands of dollars per day. It really quickly too. I mean, I remember when I was working for the fire department, I literally went from not doing much. I actually went from losing money to I was working out with my crew one day, and I just kept hearing the cha-ching, 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 after literally losing money a few weeks before. And it was because I had gone so hard in horizontal scaling when I figured out what worked. So guys, keep that in mind, that there's a lot of strategies that work. Really what it comes down to is you need to choose a universal strategy that you follow across the board for testing. And then you need to test different strategies as well. And you need to split test. Split testing is such an underrated key to not just e-commerce, but every business out there. You need to split test to find out what works and then make it more and more efficient over time. You get more and more efficiency. You'll get your margins. You'll have your margins increase over time. I mean, literally, split testing is absolutely key. Just know that with Facebook ads, there's many strategies that work, guys. You just have to find out what works for you, find out what works for your niche, find out what works for your individual products. And once you've got that, you're good to go. Keep in mind that my biggest key of advice is to focus on that horizontal scaling and don't downplay that. That's the biggest thing that I see people lacking on, is their focus on horizontal scaling. And if you guys focus on that, and I've got so many videos on my channel covering micro details of everything we talked about today. So definitely go ahead and check out those if you've got any more questions. But I'd love to go ahead and hear back from you guys. If you could, leave a comment down below, any questions you have. I'd love to go ahead and connect with you guys. Please go ahead and smash that like button for me. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And keep grinding, y'all, and I'll see you in the next video.